Hi guys, it's Anna from Astro Lady Tarot. Thank you for tuning in. I feel wildly out of practice. Also, I have no idea why I'm sitting near the window. It's clear throughout the years that I've been uploading videos about tarot and all things related that this is the worst spot in my apartment to do videos, but here I am. I want to talk to you today about the Five of Swords, in particular this one, Mean and Heavy, from Tantric or Secret Dakini Oracle, this is a second edition of a vintage deck. I think this is collage deck from the 70s. And it's going to be a bit of a mashup of how I like to read tarot and also why I assigned the Five of Swords to that particular card. It's very easy. It's for anyone, I think, this video who is interested in learning the tarot or deepening their practice with tarot, learning the tarot on a level where you just basically link different information into one. The way that I read tarot, I don't necessarily learn a deck by itself. So reading Thoth, for instance, I read it still the same or very similar to how I would read Tarot de Marseille or how I would read any sort of Smith-Waite deck, etc. So this Secret Dakini Oracle has a lot of tarot aspects, basically is an equivalent of a tarot deck minus the court cards. That is basically what I'm getting into today. I was actually planning on doing a video on Living Altar Oracle booklet that I had made a couple of years ago, but I cannot find it. So I'm very sorry. I can't make the video until I find the booklet. Also, before we get into it, update in case you've missed it on my Instagram. I have merch and I call it merch, but honestly, it's just beautiful hoodie with the Dark Moon card on it and a really nice big tote bag with the Cycles card on one side and the Abracadabra card on the other side. And those are all pictures from the deck that I've made, Magical Guidance cards. The link to the deck, the other deck I've made on Make Playing Cards and merch is all underneath the video or on my channel. Let's get into this Five of Swords. So I got this comment on Instagram when I posted this card together with a caption that's similar to "I really like pulling this card." And somebody said, "Is it sarcasm or do you actually really like it?" And I said, "No, I like it. Do you only see negative?" This person answered, "It reminded me of Kali Ma and how she doesn't take shit. Setting boundaries, is that what it represents?" And then I answered, "I see it as necessary conflict." And then they answered, "Ooh, I like that." I love these types of little, conversations on Instagram or on YouTube in the comment section. So first of all, this whole deck is about Dakini. So long story short, I see that as dark feminine. Now, I have a whole video about why I believe the feminine is always dark. It's an interesting talk. I think there are at least a few things in that video that I feel people don't really think about a lot. Something to learn, something to contemplate for anyone in that video. Anyway, regarding dark feminine, this type of Dakini, or as she said, Kali Ma, a repeating theme in that is destruction. So we're not talking about pointless destruction though. We're talking about destruction that's necessary to grow. So keep that in mind. Now, Mean and Heavy, this card, is one of the air suit in the book. And basically all I did in order to, because I wrote the elements and, the sword and the number, I wrote that on the card, to basically translate this oracle card into my tarot language. All I did was, and here the light change comes, great. All I did was to find in the guidebook the fifth card. This is basically the fifth card in the suit. It's easy as that. As easy as that. I know some people who have this deck, they just read it as an oracle. Obviously, that's what it's meant to do. But then it also says in the guidebook that it's one of the air suits. So I want to know which one, right? Which key are we talking about? Which part of the process? I have thought about organizing these cards in another order, an order that maybe would make more sense to how I understand the tarot. But to be honest, I really like the challenge that this deck, the way it is now, the way it is organized now by me, gives me, brings me, because I really have to think about why mean and heavy corresponds to the Five of Swords, even though maybe the makers of the deck originally didn't think in the same way. But let me read to you this a very brief fragment from the guidebook. This is the guidebook. Actually, it's one of my favorite guidebooks. It reads like Book of Thoth, so very similar in the sense where I don't understand everything, but what is written is very nice, very nice. Very nice and fiery, and it's very inspirational to me. So we are striding through the cosmos with goddess Kali, that's true, in the guise of an avenging angel. With me so far? Yes. Her black boots indicate that her mission is earthbound. Her bodiless head tells that it requires the single-minded execution of right action. She is in a wrathful aspect, black as limitless space, symbolizing that the essence of wrath is voidness. Though wrathful in appearance, she is filled with compassion. Do not be fearful in taking a strong line in the present situation. Be prepared to fight any enemy of the truth, in oneself and in others. Now, that is very reminiscent of how I read the Five of Swords, the typical Five of Swords. Let's look at the Centennial Smith-Waite Five of Swords. Five of Swords, as I said in the comment to this person on Instagram, is necessary conflict. So there are many ways, obviously, to read a card, and this is not, I think, the conventional way of reading Five of Swords. It's valid, though. We're talking actually here Lord of Defeat, right? By Mathers. But let's understand, what is defeat? I think defeat of the ego and needing to put your pride beside you in order to attempt to fix a relationship. So, yes, here we have Lord of Defeat, the Five of Swords in the Thoth. Okay. Because what we see initially here is this bittersweet winning a conversation or winning a discussion, and where you feel bad for the other people in the card, whether they are actually other people or other versions of yourself. We feel initially like the person in the forefront looking back with this strange grin on their face, thinking, I have won this argument, but why do I feel so bad? Because I definitely didn't handle the situation in the way that I feel comfortable. It wasn't nice. And so that is why this feels so bittersweet. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like actually winning the argument. We can also see it, and this is why I always like to talk about the whole spectrum of trying to understand a single tarot card. When we pull this card as, what do I need to do in this situation? So basically you have to read it in the context of advice, and you come with this bittersweet. So, then it doesn't make sense. Then you have to look at it from a different perspective. Well, what does this card hold that is actually positive? Especially knowing that it is still Lord of Defeat. How can defeat be something positive? And I think I just said that. It's in my notes, so I don't forget and actually say it correctly in this video. Necessary conflict, right? So this as advice is I need to actually face some people or face my demons and face the voices in my life, whether they are coming from other people or maybe from the demons that live inside my head. So again, I think defeat of the ego, because you have to realize, why are we actually taking this card, its necessary conflict, as advice and as something that's good and constructive, not destructive? You have to destroy the part of your ego in order to set aside your pride, in order to, hopefully that is your intent, to fix a relationship, any relationship, to fix the situation. So your intent is something that's very positive. You want to clear the air. You want to talk truth. You want to be real. You want to further this relationship and not end it. That is not the goal. That's not the goal of destroying it. So in my mind, this card does not mean it's going to end badly. Not necessarily. It can be really good. It's just, of course, it's the horrible fives that we get that is a bridge between the known stability, which we've lost, and actually, hopefully, finding that balanced center where communication actually does flow. Defeat of the ego and needing to put your pride beside you in order to attempt to fix a relationship. Okay, so let me talk to you about some things that's bothering me, about some trends that I see happening mostly online, but obviously people are influenced by this. Okay, so these days, it's just speaking from the heart, and I am a bit frustrated about this, but yes, let me just explain this in this video because I feel that it is part of this tarot card, since it's swords and we are also talking about cutting ties, cutting cords. These days it's a trend, have you noticed that? To cut people out of one's life. And I know from experience, actually, obviously, because I'm a human being on this earth, that there are plenty of valid reasons to do exactly that. But we need community. So reverting to cutting people out of one's life all the time, as that is exactly the solution to any problem that I might have with someone in my life, is not what we need. This card, in my opinion, stands for the opposite of that, because you still give someone a chance. You also basically demand that you also get a chance. This is the opposite from avoiding. And I was joking with a friend the other day. I asked her, what's the opposite of conflict avoidant? And she said, conflict enthusiast. Well, I don't know. Maybe as a spiritual person with a spiritual practice, with a tarot practice, and a tarot practice like this, that's actually kind of psychological, maybe I am conflict enthusiast. Not in the way where I like to pick fights, absolutely not. But I've learned so much throughout the years, mostly thanks to tarot, honestly, that avoiding conflict, not the way to go. Also, that is how you easily lose people, when you don't get to hear their side of the story. We all know how unfair it is to not being able to say your side of the story to somebody who just, even before giving you a chance, decided to cut you out of their lives. Lovely. And then it's all about reflecting and thinking, well, maybe I did something. What did I do? How can I work on myself? Unfortunately, though, that person who immediately cut you out of their lives, I hope this is not too confusing, will never know that better version of yourself, because it's the decision was made, it's done. Don't forget that we need community. That's all I'm saying. And you know what? I actually love seeing the Five of Swords pop up. That wasn't a joke on Instagram when I said I love seeing this card. Anyway, I do work with a sort of Dakini, dark feminine energy, you might say, but also it's just, I love this advice, which indeed might make me a conflict enthusiast. But I love seeing this card pop up because it means that I need to put in the work to clear the air. This is an air card, and we also see a storm, right? And we also see a bit of destruction in, for instance, the Crowley card with all of those rose petals. Just, it's a destroyed rose, basically, right? It's something is destroyed, but the intent behind it, at least that's how I see it, is to fix. It's similar to the Tower card, you might say. There aren't many cases where you can actually look back and think, wow, that tower really didn't need to be destroyed. Most of the time, we can assess that the tower that tower that we had built, very much did need to come down in order to level the ground and build something that actually is good for us, that actually does fit us. You know? So this is why you need to destroy, but you do build back up. That is the thing. I need to put in the work to clear the air, which, in my experience, tends to be a relief because we finally put truth on the table, right? It's there to clarify something. That's how we can grow closer to each other, to one another. And I'm just saying this conflict thing and confrontation, mostly, that's a word I hadn't used yet in this video, but it's very much part of this card to me. Confrontation, confronting somebody or confronting yourself or letting somebody confront you about something, because we all have blind spots, we're not perfect, we're all here to learn. It actually involves so much. It also involves, for instance, something I've recently experienced, someone's very false opinion about me. And I, not desperately, but yes, I do want to clear the air because there's some judgment there. I am at least very aware that me confronting this person, it's about opening the door to inviting them in and saying, no, look, you're wrong and this is the real me. So let's grow closer. Let's at least be okay with one another. You know, that is, how do I explain that? There must be some sort of a philosophy or something that is linked to what I just explained, because I feel so many people very quickly get offended, and I get it because I also get mad and frustrated, and yes, I do get offended when somebody has a twisted view of who I am, very quickly form their opinion about me, but then how I act or how my highest self tries to act in every situation is to always confront and, yes, maybe have this sort of a conflict at some point in order to clear the air, put the truth on the table, and open things up. It's not about closing. That's it. It's not about closing, it's about opening things up. So yes, boundaries, but how much of, of what I just explained fits into the having boundaries? Having boundaries doesn't mean cutting people off. I think maybe it's even the opposite. Having boundaries means that you express what does and does not fly in your world, right? And there's way more to it, but still, boundaries, it actually is about opening up, because it's much easier to cut someone out of your life who's done you wrong, whatever it is, and wanting to fix a situation. Of course, apply this to your situation, you know what's best. But here's my 2 cents, is that it's a trend these days to say that you protect your peace and stuff. And yes, yes, by all means, protect your peace, but don't cut everyone out of your life. That would be bad. What made me think of this, because I like to be transparent in my videos, is because obviously this whole video came from this particular card, which I like. It reminded me of this one, which is the Judgment card, or one of the Judgment cards in my favorite deck, Triomphe della Luna by Patrick Valenza, a New York-based artist. And yeah, very much the mouth, right? Judgment. So there's a lot of fear involved with Judgment card. Also, though, you go through the fear, just like the knights in the tarot. They're the ones who move out of the home zone, and they have the adventure. They are in the middle of exploring the world and seeing what's out there and pushing past everything. They get to learn from the outside world, and they push through fear. That doesn't mean they're not afraid. It just means that they do it even though they might experience fear. And so, yes, maybe there is fear in confronting, right? And knowing that you're going to have to basically initiate a fight. But it's a point of, it's going to be yes or no in the end, because that's what the 5 is. Again, it's bridge. Either you cross the bridge or you don't. You end up back where you were and you have to go another route. But I'm saying judgment also is the aeon. So revolution. There's a revolution happening in these cards, in what they represent. I would absolutely love to read your comments because I love connecting to you, and I will be in the comment section, ready to reply, ready to get into some conversations. Obviously, also feel free to comment on each other's comments, why not? And yes, I want to hear what you have to say about this. Is this how you read the 5 of Swords? Did I say anything that is completely new to you, or maybe even the exact opposite of how you tend to read the cards? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just love to hear why. Feel free to check out all the things that I've made last year and this year. I'm talking about my decks, I'm talking about the merch. And if you like this video, definitely stick around because I will link a video in the screen that I think you'll like as well. Again, sorry about the lighting, but who cares? I'm here to talk to you, and I think I did just that. So thank you so much for being here. Also, I feel I don't say it enough. Thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. We have opening act, headliner, after party, VIP lounge, and more. Yes, special thanks to those people who support my work in this way. If you want to support in another way, then yes, definitely check out the links that I was talking about. It's underneath the video. Or like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Wow, I'm a real YouTuber. Or share the video, even better. That really does help the channel, and thanks for sticking around.